Hey everybody, welcome to another round of Expert Series interview. This is Alan Ting, TEDx speaker, #1 best-selling author, and I am so excited to bring our honorable guest today. Gosh, I have so many good things to say about her because I literally just met her about a week ago. And last week, I volunteered at about 300 attendee event that came from 28 different countries called Global Youth Leadership Summit. And this young lady, oh my gosh, she is so remarkable. She was on my team. And what's remarkable about her, first thing I picked out is I love her energy and I love her soul. And I love how she always wanted to help people out. And that just stood out amongst other global leaders. And especially when we're playing this game where, if you can imagine, there are about 35, give or take, teenagers walking around trying to accomplish these tasks, these goals. And they were on a wild goose chase playing a scavenger hunt. And this young lady stood up and says, here's my phone, here's the app, and this is what we're gonna do. This is the first checkpoint. And she just told everybody. I'm like, oh my God, this remarkable young lady, she's such a firecracker. She got so much energy. And I'm like, I got it. Bring her in and interview her, inspire the rest of us parents and also their kids, and really understand her journey. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Abigail, who is an amazing and remarkable young lady. Hello.
Hi.
And today's topic is really about how do we ignite your child's leadership within. So Abigail, if I can ask you, how did you get into this leadership position and what inspired you to be in this leadership position?
In the leadership position that I took at GYLS, I figured I always knew I had it in me. I mean, I knew I could overcome any task and I knew that I could be the leader, but I could also be a follower if I wanted to. And what inspired me was after this board-breaking experience that we did, we actually broke through a board that was like this thick and really big. Afterwards, I just felt so free and I knew that I could do anything. And I loved it and I wanted to embrace it.
And so now, if you guys don't know about the board breaking exercise, so it's really about, I think about almost 3/4, if not an inch thick. And usually it takes a karate student about 2 years to learn how to break a board. And we taught these teenagers literally within, I think, half an hour, and I just broke through. It was such an amazing event. I love that synergy. I love the story. So how did you get into this leadership? What made you take that initiative and wanted to do more and serve more?
Well, my mom would always tell me and my siblings to be a leader, not a follower. And deep down inside, I knew that following that would mean I would have to be like everybody else and do what everybody else wanted me to do, to follow society standards and stick in that base. I was just not that person. So I knew that I had to do something more. And if there was something I was passionate about, like cooking, I had to always do the next step. I have to be one step ahead because that fulfills me inside. And it makes me see the world completely differently. And so by doing that, by taking that extra leadership position, you'd be surprised. Other people will actually start to follow you and they would want to be around you. Then that creates the leaders and the followers. And honestly, now that I was at GYLS, I know to my full extent how to be a leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you talk about your mom, did you ever ask her why would she guide you through that process, believing you become a leader? Because here's what most parents do: just go to school, get good grades, and we're done. But your mom is obviously different. So this is where we're getting to heart of parenting. So tell us more about your mom.
Well, my mom, she immigrated here when she was younger. She immigrated from Acapulco, Mexico, and she grew up in Chicago. And Chicago was one hard place to grow up in when she was younger. I guess assumed she would always see people who were exactly like that. And then when we got older, she knew she just had to get out. She knew she couldn't be there. She couldn't stay there. She couldn't be the followers like everybody else was. So, she found my dad and they were best friends. And he also had the same mindset. They knew they had to get out. So when they finally did, they moved to a suburb. And then my dad took a place to move to Nevada and Reno. And here, everything is completely different. And so she still knows. She always tells us, like, even though you don't have to get out of that neighborhood, you guys grew up in a same place. There's still so much more. You have to see and go and find yourself.
That's really cool, because one of the things we learn about leadership is about having a vision. And sometimes that vision might be held back by your family family members, by your relatives, and or the circle of friends around you. But I believe that your mom and dad have this vision that they want a better life for you and your sister, their entire family. So that's why they made the move. Does that sound about correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why she inspired you to be an even better person. So this is so cool. I love where this conversation is going. So you talked about GYLS and you continue to learn about leadership. What were some of the top 3 lessons you learned about leadership at GYLS?
I would probably say my first main one was one that you actually taught me. It was tough love. I remember after that scavenger hunt when there was about, those 30, 35 kids going around finding tasks, I always just wanted to say, hey, this is what we can do better on. This is our next step, let's keep going. But you actually taught me that it's okay to slow down for a second, talk to people about it, be positive about it to make them trust you. And then they can listen to you, and then you can be, hey, let's do this next step. And that honestly changed a lot of my life, because now I take the time to step back and tell somebody, hey, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you. You're such a good person. And then from there, they rebuild that trust. And then I can take a higher leadership standard that's not only positive and kind, but it's also respectable. My second one would be, that's hard. I learned a lot of leadership skills. I learned a lot about myself and what leadership skill I take, which is more affiliative, which is, going around to everybody, making sure they're okay, and then moving everybody forward all together. And I also learned what other kinds of leadership there is. And I feel like if we were in a room, somebody with every single one of those, we would all be fighting, I'm going to take the command, no, I'm going to be more affiliative. But in the end, we're all really strong and we would have that connection of leadership. So it's interesting going out and seeing people and which one they are more of in taking leadership. And that helps me learn a lot about the person and how I can communicate with them. It's game changing. Once you see that, you can see a lot more.
I think you hit the nail right on the head for so many fronts. Again, the reason why I say you're so remarkable is because it took me decades to learn what you just learned, right? This is like what I started learning in my 30s, 40s, right? And then you, how old are you? 16, 17?
I'm 15.
Oh my gosh, you're 15 years old. Oh my God, this totally blows my mind. I know you haven't been into the workforce per se, but of the leaders and managers I've been at most companies, their style of leadership is usually wrapped around authoritarian, meaning that you do what I tell you to do. If you don't do it, then I'm going to fire you, or I'm going to reprimand you. I'm going to do whatever, yell at you, whatever. It kind of works until it doesn't, because you can't force the team to go a certain direction when they don't trust you. The followers wants most is that the leaders care about you, or about your well-being. And I love it because nobody taught you this, but you went around, I saw this, right? So you went around, talked to everybody like, hey, how you doing? You guys need water? You guys feeling okay? And at the end of the day, you really care about them. You really care about the team. And through that trust process, the second half of the scavenger game, they all listen to you even more. Because like you said, you took the time to have a timeout to connect people at a human level. And because through that process, they trust you, they care about you, and they want to follow you. This is so powerful. That's why, I don't know if you guys know, but the top CEOs of the world, they actually walk around in a company, introduces himself and say hello to people. Most CEOs don't do that, right? Because he wants people to trust him and follow the team. This is so awesome. Really love this conversation. If I can ask you, if somebody who is also interested in leadership, or maybe a parent trying to help groom their children to be in leadership positions, what do you recommend? Are there any books that you recommend? Are there any courses? We know GYLS between 14-year-old and 16-year-olds, but what about somebody who's younger, like 5 to 8? Where do you start, or how does a parent start, or what do you recommend?
Well, I'm not a parent, obviously. I'm pretty young for that, but I do have a 5-year-old sister, and for taking leadership for her, I noticed that she listens more when I care about her, when I gently talk to her, rather than being like, Rosario, get your butt upstairs right now. But if you take the time to her, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? Do you need something? Can you come upstairs for a second and then we can do that? Then she's more like, it's like a switch. It switches her, and then she's more willing to do that. For anybody ages 5 to 8 to take leadership, it's hard. I know, being younger and not being able to be heard by older people because, well, they just think, hey, you're a kid. you won't know, but you'd be surprised. I mean, a lot of kids have a lot of amazing power in them that most people just don't see. If I were you younger kids, well, start writing that stuff down, because trust me, when you get older, there are more things you can start taking initiative, ask your parents questions, and then from there, you can grow up, have more respect for yourself and for other people to start growing your leadership and all of your ideas that you have to take command. For parents, if you don't want to send your kids to GYLS, well, then there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to learn. I have my book from GYLS and I look over it since I've gotten back every night, and I look over 3 things that Marlon told me to. What was great about today? What did I learn today? And what am I doing to help achieve my goals? And with those 3 things, if you ask yourself those every night, no matter how old you are, from 5 to 8, or as an adult having children or whatnot, if you just ask those 3 questions, it really opens your mindset to look where you're going and where you have been. And that's going to make you want to do more. As for books, I know I read a lot of books about cooking. I read a lot of cookbooks because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to do. So I probably won't ever pick up a math book in my life. I don't like math very much. So I would say to do what you're passionate about. And then that passion can only grow and grow.
This is exactly what I teach in Remarkable Parenting Academy. The generation that I grew up in, we were forced to take a certain route. You got to be an engineer. You got to be an accountant. You got to be, a doctor, a physician. You got to be an attorney. And oftentimes, maybe those are not our passion. Cooking, oh my gosh. There's so many celebrity chefs nowadays. It's ridiculous, right? But if your heart isn't cooking, oh my God, this is like, why don't you find something that you're passionate about? Because what happens when you're passionate about something? You want to do more of it, right? And, our mentor, Tony Robbins, says success builds on top of success. And just when I talk about cooking, look how your face all gets all
I do. I have my whole stack of books right on my desk right here. That's just international cooking, food science, how to run a restaurant, Mexican cooking, and a new Julia Child book I got. It was funny. I actually didn't want to be a chef when I started high school. I was in engineering, and I was actually like one of the top kids in my class as well. And then once I stepped foot into that kitchen, everything was blown off.
I love a good, solid tasting meal. That lights me up more than anything. And we noticed how much we love food. Some of our favorite restaurants either got changed owners or got closed down during COVID, or we can't eat that fried chicken anymore. But we used to go there once a month, right? And it makes us so happy. So I'm so happy to hear that this is the passion that you want to choose, that you want to go after. I hope parents, I know Abigail, you're only 15, you're not a parent yet, but I believe Abigail, she's got an old soul. And what I mean by that is the wisdom that she provides for so far, even the 3 questions and the passion that she brings and the leadership that help ignite your children. Even though she's not a mother yet, everything still stays true of what her teachings are. So I hope you guys are taking really good notes. And one last question, Abigail, what's a message you want to share with every parent out there? What's in your heart?
In my heart, I personally would want my parents to listen more. And I know the rest of my siblings feel the same way, because once you have that communication of just sitting there and listening, everything I have to say, everything my siblings have to say, because they're remarkable and I don't even know it because I don't take the time to listen to them. If you were to just sit there and just hear everything they've done, everything they want to accomplish, I don't know, there's some sort of connection inside of you guys that just starts to grow, and it just grows the more you do that. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's not just you're my family member, it's hey, you're my family member, that's my best friend, that's my soulmate, that's going to be with me forever. And not just with parents or with family, it's also with friends. As I think Tony Robbins says, or a friend is just like communication, and then it becomes a best friend, more communication. Then it becomes even more than that with more communication. But in order to get communication, you have to listen first.
It's funny how you address that. When I came to GYLS, and I hear this over and over, a lot of times the participants, the ambassadors like you guys just want to be heard. To listen to you, we're here shoulder for you to listen to. We're not here to judge you. We're just here to be fully present with you guys and just listen. I kind of reflect in my life that I'm not blaming my parents by any means, because they didn't know, they didn't have access to what we learned. I don't remember them really sit down and listen to me. I made every effort that I could when I spend time with you guys, really listen to you and really give the unconditional love back to you guys. And you're absolutely right. Even though this is a parenting course, this is also a leadership course, because if you can imagine, we do that at a workplace when you're in a leadership position and you're talking to your employees or the people underneath you, and you're just there to listen. Like you said, they have so many remarkable ideas and they're so brilliant, and all we need to do is sit down and listen to them, and they can help us with problems that we come into challenge. That goes with our children as well. Listen, hey, I really appreciate your time, and this has been so phenomenal of an interview. Let's just close this off with, until then, live purposely, love passionately, and serve the world by spreading love and joy. We'll see you in another session.